Now, relative time is what we use to specify offsets from either the current time or from some other time that's used as an index, sometimes the start time in a trend. So for example, if I were to say minus 1.5h, it means whatever the current time is minus 1.5 hours. So for example, a process book trend with that as its start time would stretch back 1.5 hours. Now this indicator here, hours, or H for hours, D for days, MO for months, etc. That's not optional. It is a requirement. There is no default time unit. So probably the single most common mistake we see people make is they will omit the indicator here. So they'll just put a +2 or -2 or something like that, assuming that it's going to default to days, but in fact it does not. Okay. You can use fractions, that's no problem. And we most often see this as part of a combined time. So by combined time, what I mean is combined with the absolute times. So here are some examples right here. This asterisk is an absolute time, meaning the current time, and -8 hours indicates it's going to be 8 hours back from the current time. So T stands for today at midnight. -7 days would be 7 days before that. So again, it's an example of a combined time format.